Hey there viewers, my name's Torinski and welcome back to another DCSS Sunday. Today we're of course jumping right back into the usual routine, trying to get a victory with every god in the game. And where we last left off, we'd successfully gone through the first on our list, finishing off good old Anthony with Heplequana. And so hopefully today we can continue that positive trajectory. But of course, who knows what the dungeon has in store, so without further ado, let's get ready to hop right into it, shall we? And at the moment here, the world is our oyster. We have tons of options right before us. Everything except for Hep is on the table. So where did we want to start off today? I think I potentially lean towards an idea that came up recently, which is trying out a stabber of probably Uskayaw, if we're able to. Might have to pivot if we don't find the altar at the temple, or hopefully even earlier. So I think that's where we will begin today, and in that essence, I think we're gonna start off this evening with a Vinestalker. Vinestalker works really well with stabbers in general and Uskayaw because they attack very quickly, they have their auxiliary anti-magic bite, and yeah, so they synergize nicely with short blades, and of course Uskayaw, when we get to the piety level that's our solo, it will paralyze everyone and we get tons of beautiful stabs in. So with that in mind, let's just jump into it, shall we? Probably be a brigand here as well, so we start off with some short blades and as also some of the poison darts, and especially Curari to help with the early game big boys. So let's try that out, shall we? And right, one of these days I'm going to remember to come up with names beforehand so I'm not stuck trying to rack my brain as we go in, but that's fine. Let's go with Venus Flytrap. Does that work? Venus Flytrap? Let's just go Venus Flytrap. Nothing too clever or interesting, but fairly indicative as to what we're going to be doing here today. Not too shabby. So with that in mind, we'll most likely turn all these off. I guess stealth with the +3 aptitude will be in a pretty decent spot there. So let's bring it up to 6, short blades to 10 for our dagger, and of course fighting up to 8, 9, somewhere around there is where I usually like to go. And that should be wonderful. Of course, do the usual routine of all of our pickups, and last but not least, we'll do a quick dump of our morgue file and bring that up over on the other monitor here so that we can change out the seed, just in case any of you lovely folks want to play along from at home and see how well you fare in the same dungeon. Perfect. Hey Yard, hello, you want to rant about your polytheist related attempt? Is that allowed? Of course, go right ahead, my friend. Also, hello, I hope your Sunday's going well, or Monday if you're ahead of us time zone wise. But okie dokie, let's jump to it, shall we? Should be doing fairly decently in the early dungeon here. Of course, if we can get a few of those beautiful stabs in, it will be even better. Not too shabby of a start, or so it would seem. Perfect. You're playing Null, Wanderer of Nemlex, and casting Orb of Destruction. Nice. So far seems like a pretty solid run. I'm worried about what went wrong. There we go. Played it a little bit less than ideal there. We probably should have backed off a bit and taken them on one by one. Of course, doesn't come back to bite us in the butt here. Still early days, still plenty of wiggle room for us. And that is just about all of floor 1, not too bad. Another option we do have here, if we so desire, is to, at some point, took a bit more poison damage than I'd like, but nothing we can't handle. But at some point we could come in with a bit more of a hybrid character, an open-ended character. And that way we can actually take advantage of Fated Altars, while it's still likely to give us a god that we haven't already beaten. But we'll see how it goes. For the time being, I was very excited to try out an Uskayaw stabber, So it seemed to be the flavor of the day, at least for now. And I think we'll have a lot of fun on this run. There we go. We do hit level 4 and we begin to heal more quickly. Fantastic. Of course, don't remember from our... Oh geez, that's a lot of snakes. From our earlier runs with Vinestalker, of course, their main feature is that they cannot drink health potions, and instead they have an innate Spirit Guardian, really good regeneration. So hopefully that offset will be enough to keep us alive over extended fights, and does quite well also with synergizing with Uskayaw, keeping us in the battle as long as we can possibly handle. Just before you could enter the main Zot vault, you got pulled into the Orb Chamber, failed to abort 2 times, got marked and mauled by 12 Orb Guardians. I think it was Sourceless Malevolence too. Oof. That's really rough. Anytime you're in Zot 5 and you get hit by that random teleport, bringing you into the lungs, it is a nasty situation for sure. No, very, very sorry to hear about your poor Null there. Hopefully the next one gets the opposite treatment. Maybe you used up all of your bad luck. And everything will just go fine and dandy the next time. And that's what I always tell myself when unfortunate things happen in DCSS, at least. Okay, Hound is the toughest enemy we've fought so far. Doesn't seem to be too much of a problem, fortunately, so that's not too bad. We could end up spellcasting at some point down the road. I definitely would prefer not to rely on it at all as much as possible. I'd like to stick in theme with the stabber approach here, but we'll see what the dungeon has in store for us. Of course, we'll definitely throw on the boots right away, not only because they turn out to match our beautiful cloak here, but also for the slight increase in armor class. Anything in that regard will help out. Blink, Manifold Assault, jeez, can't talk at all. Blink, Manifold Assault, and Stormform. That's a pretty fantastic book if we did end up wanting to pivot for any reason in the future. But so far, nothing too scary. D3 is where things can start to go off the rails. You know, you run into your extremely early Sigmund. Even Edmund can be a rough go at things. But fortunately, it does not seem to be the case today, as everything goes just beautifully. Ooh, and we hear the sound of rushing water. Definitely would not mind getting access to a sewer. I don't know how well we would fare at the moment, but we're just going to head deep into one corner here to get as much information as we can from that message right there. So very distant means that we probably want to change gears completely here. And let's head down this direction. We'll walk away from the dog to start out there, try to let some of our regen take a hold before we get into another bit of combat. It seems to work out for us there. Ah, that's going to be a wild pickle hanging out. For the time being, let's ignore you. Still getting very distant, so that means we don't have to deal with Pickle right away. So let's just try to sneak around here and keep heading down as much as we can. Where the heck are you, sewer? Oh, geez Louise. Nothing here, eh? I doubt there's too much going on here, yet still very distant, so we're just gonna turn around and try to get back to pretty much where we started is my next best guess here. It's not looking great. Hello, Natasha. Okay, unfortunately, gonna have to kill you at least once. Hopefully don't have to do anything more permanent than that. Ooh, and that's a shame. I was hoping we could get the backstab off on the ogre here. 40 damage is a bit much for us right now. I mean, fortunately with our evasion, it's a 50-50 shot, so maybe it goes all right. In fact, switch over to Kirari. Try and get the slow on this buddy. And then we could even just walk away. Keep poisoning. But it works out in our favor to just sort that out right away. That's fantastic. Do not like the dispersal. feature of our phantom friend there. Still very distant? Where the heck is this? I highly doubt at this point that we're going to be making it to this sewer in time, unfortunately. Oh. But would you look at that? There it is. So these buddies are what I'm concerned about. Fight for up to 10 damage. Hit pretty dang hard. Quite evasive on their own as well. Fortunately, our auxiliary attack gives us another opportunity. Gosh, okay, I'm going to have to kill you one more time. Just don't approach me again, please, Natasha. I would prefer not to do anything that I would regret from a moral standpoint. Okay, it does seem like our drain is still alive. And unfortunately, it looks like we stumble as we try to get the backstab there. But okie dokie, we just barely made it in. Or at least that's my assumption here. This looks to be the sewer where we will come across, I think it's like structures, top and bottom with kobolds in them. Could be mixing it up with a different sewer layout here, but we'll see how she goes. Let's just bring you back here, my friend, and we'll try to take care of everyone little by little. Ah, there we go. It is indeed the sewer we expected. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten a hold of any enchanted daggers yet. Usually by this stage, I'd be hoping for even like a venom dagger is usually quite nice early on. Ooh, let's definitely mute my laptop before we get more random Windows noises. Using the ever-living crap out of all you lovely folks. Hey Shad, how's it going? I hope your weekend is going well so far, that you've had a fantastic week in general, of course. And would you look at that? Look at all of our new friends. Unfortunately, we're not with Uskayaw already, so we don't get to take advantage of that. Of course, one of the big selling points of a Uskayaw build is its ability to deal with large groups of enemies. So hopefully we can survive long enough to see that eventuality come to pass. Okay, just poison darts, so it looks like we don't have Curari to deal with our brigand friend here, so that's fantastic. We'll use a Curari of our own just to ensure our survival. Fortunately, not mulching any of those bad boys yet, so that is very promising for the future. We'll back away to try and not fight multiples of these buddies at once. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out, but not too shabby. Some D&D and otherwise just chill weekend? Nice, that sounds like a fantastic weekend. I'd still desperately need to find a group to play D&D with. I think I overheard some coworkers the other day talking about it, so I'm gonna try and broach it there and hopefully find a group to play with. Though likely I'll end up needing to be a DM, since that's usually the hardest part, is finding someone for that role. But that still sounds super fun to me. Okay, Sigmund, surprise Sigmund for your trouble. We'll walk away from our lemur friends here, of course. Don't want to do anything we would regret there. And then, do I even bother trying to fight Pickle right now, or do we just call this floor finished for now and get the heck out of here? Especially with Natasha wandering around on her last life, I would prefer not to accidentally require some cold-hearted murder to take place. Oof. Vampire mosquito is very bad. As a bonus, you get to watch this wonderful dungeon delving. Well, I hope that it's up to snuff and is satisfactory for sure, my friend. We'll be doing our best here. Okay. Unfortunately, since it does look like we have another vampire mosquito on the way, we're gonna have to try to grab you. Dang it. Unfortunately, the constriction not doing us favors at the moment here. This might be the end for poor old Venus Flytrap, unfortunately. Oh, right as I make bold claims about trying our best. How fitting. Well, we'll constrict you and then try to run. At least make it back upstairs, so that's kind of something. Of course, we can't start drinking potions randomly because a heal wound's not going to do much. I guess a potion of magic could have potentially given us a bit more wiggle room. But there it is. Suddenly, everything takes a very terrible turn for poor old Venus Flytrap. But hey, sometimes that's just how the dungeon crumbles here. So let's not worry too much about it, and we'll jump right back in. If we're likely to die on this character, it is going to be early on. So if we can just brute force our way past this, potentially get a little bit lucky in one of our attempts, then we should be left in a fairly decent spot for moving forward. Specifically, once we get set up with a half-decent short blade and Uskayaw under our belt, can feel pretty dang confident. But we're going to just dive right in here with the same name. Didn't get far enough to let the legacy really take on its own story here. So with that in mind, let's just dive right into it, shall we? Maybe we won't worry too much about getting fancy in the first few floors here. Let's just sprint through. Get see invisible again. How about that? Not too bad. Faded altar. Sorry, not today, my friend. Fortunately, not an enchanted dagger on our hobgoblin pal there. But that is one place that we could definitely improve over the last attempt here, is if we can luck out there. We will most likely need to get a backstab off, because if a kobold with a poison dagger comes our way, it might be a bit of a nasty encounter, to say the least. But providing we can get the upper hand somehow in one way or another, then we should be in a fairly decent spot moving forward. Well, my friend, what kind of staff? Staff of air for some emergency electricity resistance, if need be. Not too shabby. And here's where it once again potentially gets real interesting. See how it goes. It seemed like all of our uniques last time were hanging out on floor 4. There's a bit of a unique convention going on, or so it would seem, with Sigmund, Pickle, and Natasha all just chilling and waiting for us. But we'll see if we witness the same behavior on this second attempt. Or we can just get shafted. That works too, I guess. Very cool. Not at all terrifying. I'm also going to skip out on fighting those other buddies to run up for this ring here. Ooh, geez. It's a bit early to take on orcs. Fortunately, I didn't see a priest quite yet. Definitely get ourselves into a nice little corridor here. Oh, unfortunately, this buddy decided that it was a good idea to switch to boomerangs, so that's potentially an advantage we can try to move on with here. And in fact, to kind of aid us in our escape, let's bring out the constriction. Oh, you probably can't get constricted now that I think about it. Whoops. Well, there we go. Just roll the dice instead, and fortunately, things seem to work out in our favor, largely due to the regeneration. Getting a little bit lucky, but I'll take it. So this week we are trying to stab dance our way to Zot. That is exactly the case. That's the plan. Hopefully, we can get ourselves a half-decent short blade. You son of a gun. I can't even necessarily survive one hit against our ogre pal here, so we're gonna play even more defensively than we did last time. Just get enough poison to hopefully murder you. Fantastic. Then what do I do with you, my friend? First and foremost, let's put on this willpower ring. Try to close the gap there so that we can bring in our anti-magic bite, and everything seems to work out in that regard so far, so that's fantastic. Yeah, in terms of trying to stab dance our way to victory here, big part of that will be contingent on surviving long enough to get Uskayaw, of course. And we'll run away from the Orc Priest for now. Definitely don't want to be worrying about that son of a gun while fighting others. +5 ringmail of the parlor games. Well, normally I like to stick to the light armor for as long as possible, kind of lean into the evasion and stealth. I don't know if I can say no to a +5 ringmail though. Still relatively light, fortunately, but it will, if I had to guess, reduce our stealth. So we're at 3 pips now, and if we put on this bad boy... Oh, it does not. We lost 1 point of evasion? That's not much at all. So that is quite fantastic. That is a wonderful start for us here today. After talking a big game about how all we need is a lucky start to capitalize off of, now is the time to put our money where our mouth is, I guess. Hopefully, that's the ticket we need still. Don't have a half-decent weapon to take into the future here. That's not the end of the world. Let's try to get next to Jessica here. Fantastic. Again, will be a fairly decent matchup against most spellcasters since we prevent them from using any of their abilities. Right. I also completely forgot that I got shafted down here, so we could have probably tried to take an upstairs slightly earlier, but regardless, I'm kind of glad with how it worked out, I guess. And Ring of Flight could be fantastic. Right, we don't actually need gloves because we already picked up the +1 gloves here. In fact, just being at 13 AC on a stabbing character is a pretty solid jumping off point here. So that is fantastic. There we go. Now we've officially finished the floor. We can go down and do the same for D3. Oh wow, a Bardian, look at that. It's a few runs in a row now that we've been fortunate enough to find Barding. I'm guessing that luck will not stick around by the time we switch over to a character that can actually use it. But let's see, what do you have? +3 dagger. Okay, not ideal, no brand on it, but technically +1 better than our current setup, so we might as well swap over to it. Plus, it's always nice to get the fancy blue glow. Not too shabby. Guana could actually be a rough encounter with us. If we weren't so well suited defensively here, probably would have tried to leave that buddy alone, or at least had to resort to Curari and the like. And there we go. Dagger Flaming isn't ideal, but it's something. And we'll once again swap over to our Curari, try and get some hits in until we take pretty much any amount of damage like we saw there. And then we can swap over. Oops, accidentally hit tab instead of auto throw. That's my mistake. Fortunately, doesn't come back to bite us in the butt too much here so far though. And we can just move on all happy. Right, I did potentially, even though the Flaming Brand is not ideal, can still pick it up here. We actually go down in damage. I'm trading of 8, 9. I guess this doesn't actually include the flame. Yes, it's 8 plus flame. So that's probably only going to be, is it like 10 or something? 25% increase in the damage? Regardless, not ideal necessarily, but we'll take it for the time being. Hopefully we can swap that out for, again, poison is usually one of the better ones to get early on here. With our fast attack speed, we can get an absurd amount of poison stacks on our enemies very, very early on in the encounters. But won't hold our breath for that, and we'll be happy with pretty much anything we got.